Hi knitters, Hannah here from Bears Den Essentials. Today we are going to be talking about the wrap and turn short row method. If you're anything like me, you've probably in the past been pretty intimidated by the idea of short rows, but they're a lot more straightforward than you would think. They're really great for creating triangles and wedges to shape things like darts, or in today's case, stocking heels. The key to a short row is that you're not knitting to the end of a needle. So to work partway through your knitting for this heel, I particularly like the wrap and turn method. It prevents holes and I think it looks really nice. So this video is broken into two parts for wrapping and turning the top of the heel and then reversing what you did to create the bottom of the heel. So I'm going to walk you through every step of the way. Let's get started. To wrap and turn on the knit side, you're going to knit to one stitch before the end of the heel. In this pattern, you'll have 20 stitches for the heel, so knit 19 stitches. Keeping the yarn in back, slip the next stitch purlwise from the left needle to the right needle, bring the yarn forward as if to purl, slip the stitch from the right needle back to the left needle, and bring the yarn back as if to knit. Turn the work so that the purl side is facing you, ready to purl. Purl as you would normally, 19 stitches until you reach the one stitch before the end of the heel. To wrap and turn on the purl side, keep the yarn in front. Slip the next stitch purlwise from the left needle to the right needle, bring the yarn back as if to knit, slip the stitch from the right needle back to the left needle, bring the yarn front now as if to purl. Now turn the work so that the knit side is facing you, ready to knit. This next row, you're going to be knitting to 2 stitches before the end of the heel. So now in the second stitch before the heel, you're going to be once again wrapping and turning on the knit side. Just to refresh, keep the yarn in back, slip the stitch purlwise from the left needle to the right needle, bring the yarn forward as if to purl, slip the stitch from the right needle back to the left needle, and then bring the yarn back as if to knit. Once you've done that, turn the work so the purl side is facing you, ready to purl. Purl across up until you reach 2 stitches before the end of the heel. When you reach 2 stitches before the end of the heel purlwise, keep the yarn in front, slip the next stitch purlwise from the left needle to the right needle, bring the yarn back as if to knit, slip the stitch from the right needle back to the left needle, and then bring the yarn front as if to purl. You're going to turn the work again so that the knit side is facing you, ready to knit. To complete the top half of the heel, continue in this manner, working one less stitch at each end until you have 6 heel stitches left in the center and 7 wrapped stitches on both ends. For this pattern, that will amount to 14 rows total. Once you've completed the first section, you'll notice gaps in the knitting where you wrapped the stitches. To rectify this, you're going to work back out across the entire row, closing the gaps by picking up the wrapped stitches. For the first row, knit to your first wrap stitch, which should be the 7th stitch from the end. Knit the wrap and the stitch together by picking up the wrap with the right needle from front to back, inserting the right needle into the stitch that is wrapped, and then knitting the wrap and the stitch together. Wrap and turn the next stitch after the one that you just worked, so now that stitch has 2 wraps on it. Turn your work as if to purl, and then purl across as you would normally. You'll be purling to the 7th stitch before the end of the heel. Once you reach that stitch, you're going to purl the wrap and stitch together by picking up the wrap with the right needle from back to front, placing the wrap onto the left needle over and behind the stitch it was wrapping, and purling together the wrap and the stitch that is wrapped. Once again, you will wrap and turn on the purl side, and then you'll turn and knit across until you hit the 6th stitch from the end of the heel. One important distinction for all the rows that follow is that because your next end stitches are now going to each have 2 wraps on them, you want to make sure for the knitting rows you knit both wraps and the stitch together before you wrap and turn the next stitch. And on purl rows, you want to make sure you purl both wraps and the stitch together before wrapping and turning the next stitch. What this does is it prevents those gaps from forming. So for each row, you're going to alternate. On knitting rows, you will be knitting to your next wrap stitch, knit both wraps and the stitch together, wrap, and then turn. On purl rows, you will purl to your next wrap stitch, purl both wraps and the stitch together, and then wrap and turn. You will continue to work as established for 14 rows in total. Your next row, you are going to change from your contrast color back to your main color, and then you will be knitting across all of your heel stitches in the main color. This should be row 15. The end result is a really beautiful heel. This short rows method is very handy when you want to knit something like a Christmas stocking with a contrasting heel. For more tips and tricks for both hand and machine knitting, like and subscribe at Bears Den Essentials. For more patterns, you can head to our website at www.bearsdenessentials.com. Thanks again.